All right, Luke, you're 24 years old. You've scaled and built an auto detailing business from nothing.
Yes.
13 years old, your dad says, hey, if you want to make money, go do the things that nobody else wants to do. And
Yep.
instead of running from that advice, you think, okay, that sounds like a good plan. You do it, and sure enough, that's worked out for you. You've scaled this thing.
Yes.
All of a sudden, you're a freshman in college. You're making over $70,000 working part-time as a freshman. And now you've scaled this business to now you're coaching people. You've taught thousands of people how to grow a business, specifically auto detailing.
Yes.
And now you've moved into the whole online marketing space to be able to teach even thousands more of that, on top of over 18 million views of your YouTube videos.
Man,
that's a lot.
Yeah, that's the best introduction I've ever had. When
well,
you rattle it off like that sounds good.
Let's take it on the road. I'll be your hype man for anytime you go speak somewhere.
Oh, you're the sales guy from this point on. No, that's for sure. It's funny to connect the dots looking backward. You know, you can't connect them looking forward. But it is amazing how starting at 13 years old, a little simple car detailing, car cleaning business has evolved over the years into now, you know, my full-time job, business, and now I have a team and get to literally train people all over the world on building their local detailing businesses. So it's become a really pretty awesome thing.
That's crazy. Are you when you decided to start doing the videos and then doing the online coaching or coaching and all of that? Were you surprised at how many people were out there saying, "Oh, I want to learn how to do that"?
Yeah, 100%. I think, you know, now it would be easy to look back and say, oh man, I knew there was this huge market for this and I knew it was going to work. But at the time in college, really early on in college, when I started putting out the videos, I just thought to myself, hey, there's so much I wish I would have known 6 years ago. There's just such a learning curve. And there wasn't a lot of information online about detailing. And I think even today, if you were to tell somebody, yeah, there's this huge detailing niche, people are like, really? That's a big category?
Well, I'm that guy.
Totally,
I would have guessed, like, what? That's a thing?
So, you know, I started taking a camera along with me just to my clients' houses as I was detailing. I didn't have really like a script or a plan. It was more like, hey, let me take this camera, show people what I'm doing on a daily basis in my detailing business, and try to just kind of solve some natural problems that I had along the way, and we'll kind of see what happens. And so it's amazing to see now how much that, I guess, was in demand or has grown to be in demand.
It's super crazy. And of course, we live in that social media world, right? And online content creation.
Totally.
You start building out that YouTube content, you know, so I don't know, what, 6 years ago?
Yeah, 4 years ago, 4.5 years ago.
So, I mean, things are pretty far along in the social media world at that point, but
in the detailing space, it was this big white space, you know? It's like
cool.
Nobody was in there, you know?
And you didn't necessarily dive into it thinking, oh, here's a niche.
No.
I can dive in. A lot of people, you're right, the world we live in now, it's like, you know, a lot of people will coach, find a niche that nobody's really, you know, they haven't cornered the market on, and go after that thing.
Right.
But I don't think that was your intention. Your intention was not, you were already doing the thing, and you thought, well, I'll just start creating the videos.
Yeah.
So here's my question for you. YouTube, or let me back up. My question for you is, what was the moment where you thought, I got to start doing some online content?
Yes, that's a great question, because it actually was kind of a moment. A lot of things aren't, but when I was in college, I was actually trying to go to med school. So I was a biology major in college, and it was super demanding to, you know, study and focus. And one of the things I got to do, kind of it was a privilege, is just to shadow a lot of doctors who were deep into that world. And the more I got into that world, the more I was like, I just don't love this. I'm not passionate about medicine. But I loved being a small business owner in my detailing business. But I think I knew, even in my detailing business, you know, I don't know if I want to scale my physical detailing business double, triple what it is and try to go down that road, because it was already demanding. I needed employees. I had employees circulating in and out. And so I thought to myself, I wonder what would happen if, because I love communicating, I love teaching, if I jump online and just kind of passively put out content. It's a really low risk way to kind of experiment.
That's right.
I love teaching, I love communicating. Let's see what happens here. So I think that was the moment when I literally switched my major from, I thought I was going to be a doctor since I was a kid, from biology to communications, because communications was the least demanding major in college. I thought I'll have no homework, no studying, I can just focus on my business. And of course, looking back, that was the best decision I ever made. But I think that was it, when I thought, I'm not going into medicine, I love business. Let me see if I can build this business I'm already in around something I'm really passionate about, teaching, communicating, and building relationships with people.
That's really great, and a lot of that is understanding how you're wired and designed, right?
Totally.
Because a lot of people would say, well, I'm in biology or whatever, and so for the long play, yeah, that's a responsible thing on paper. That seems like
Totally.
I should go that path.
Yeah.
But they ignore the fact that I hate this. It's,
Totally.
I'm not into this at all.
Totally.
And so I applaud you that you would just listen to that internal thing, because a lot of people won't do that. And I think for anybody who's in college or going, on their way to college, I think that's probably the biggest thing someone can do is for them to just listen to what's stirring inside of them versus what on paper looks like the right move.
Totally. That's something I think about all the time, because there's such a narrative of safety and security and responsibility in taking a certain route. And certainly there's risk in doing other things like we're talking about. But it's hard to, I think I try to look at things in terms of, when I'm 80 years old, am I going to regret this decision if I make it or don't make it? Mm-hmm. And that's been really helpful. Dude,
I mean, like, as far as like a guiding compass, I think that's huge. So that was it for me with music.
Totally.
Right, I'm a kid, I'm playing guitar, I'm living in Houston, I'm playing around in different, let's call them bar bands or whatever.
Yep.
And really what I want to do is I want to tour all around the world and play arenas and that's what I want to do.
Right.
But I'm a long way from that, living in Houston. And the driving force for me when I moved to Nashville, and then when I watched all my friends and peers quit and go home and go back to college or go get these jobs or whatever, for me, the overwhelming thought was, I don't want to be 50 years old or 60 or whatever and think, man, I wish I'd given it a shot. And not just giving it I'll give it 6 months.
Yep.
Right. Yep. But give it the real, like, I'm in for the long haul.
Yeah. And I think that kind of like idealism, I don't know, we get lost. We don't have a lot of that, of just, maybe this won't work, but I'm going to give it everything I have. And at least if it doesn't work, it's not because I went 60%. Mm-hmm. It's because I'm not in control, or I can't, this isn't what I'm talented in, or, you give it 110%. And in some ways I feel like, and maybe this is just my own experience, but when you really push with everything you got, it seems like doors begin to open up in ways that you could have never anticipated when you were beginning. In many ways, it's like, would I have ever told you that I had have an online business, get to work with people around the world who are starting what I started back when I was 13? I would have never been able to connect those dots.
No way.
But man, you give a little bit of time and some effort and you push a little bit, and it seems like those doors are kind of waiting for some people who will just keep going and keep going, Man,
that's amazing. That's so good. Well, now that you're, you've built a very successful career doing this already. A career, which already
in some ways.
24, right?
Yeah, I hope so.
Do you find people coming to you now, like younger people, younger, your age, your peers? I mean, your peers are just getting out of college, or still, some of them still in college, right?
Definitely.
And you're miles ahead, of most people.
Sure.
Do you find a lot of people coming to you now for just thoughts or insights or
it's a balance lessons, right? Because like in the social media world we live in, you have all these like 20-year-old life coaches, and you're like, I don't know if that's gonna be something that works. How much life experience do you really have at 20 years old? And then on the other hand, in some ways, I think people tend to undervalue what they know and what they can offer, and maybe don't put it out there enough. And so I think in some ways I try to walk that line between what do I know, where is the value I can add, and making sure that I'm not overstepping into these other arenas. Because it's true, when you maybe experience this amount of success in this particular area, there's almost like a tendency for people to all of a sudden you're an expert in everything, and what do I do about this, and what do I do about this, and I try to stay in my lane in that way.
Well, what I applaud you on, amongst other things, is staying in that lane, right?
Yeah.
So it'd be very easy to just start branching off into way too many things. But,
Sure.
But you've built this auto detailing niche.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that you have lots of ideas swirling around.
Yeah.
I bet you have lots of ideas and businesses you want to start.
Definitely.
But you've carved out this niche, and you're saying, you know what, I'm going to stay the lane because this is something that I can really build.
Yeah.
What
Absolutely.
So talking about young entrepreneur thing, right? So
Yeah.
what were some of the internal hurdles for you? Even just starting, like even when you're going to post that first video.
Totally.
Right, because you got 0 views on that first one, I'm sure, right?
Yeah.
And the second, and third, the fifth, sixth, and we all know the deal. That
Right.
we all know the scale of how to just those things grow over time.
Absolutely.
But it still doesn't deal with the internal hurdles and lies and
No.
the things we tell ourselves. What are the things for you that internally?
Yeah, and you'd think maybe some of those things go away over time, and in some ways they just kind of turn into other hurdles that you have to jump over.
Mm-hmm.
And I think in the beginning especially, of course, the thought is, when is something going to take off? When is a big view count going to come in on a certain video, with specifically what I was doing? And in a lot of ways, that wasn't my story, in that I didn't have 1 video or 2 videos that just took off and took me to the next level. It was literally a consistent, persistent, regular posting schedule. And I think what happened is, at some point I did hit a tipping point, in that I had just done so much and put so much out there that I didn't need 1 thing to take off. There was just a critical mass.
Yeah, but most people won't get to that tipping point.
Yeah.
Right. Most people say it's not working, so it's just not going to work.
Right.
So what's the thing? What's the mantra in your head that says just stay the path? I'll hit the tipping point.
Yeah. I think that the one thing I couldn't shake was there wasn't anyone else putting out the information I needed when I was starting and growing. And it just wasn't being done at all.
Wow.
And I had enough feedback in the market in those early days to know I'm not the only person thinking about this. There are people responding saying, no one else is talking about this. I had the same hang up. How do you use that, and why'd you do it that way? Because I was struggling in the way you talked about yourself struggling. So I think there was a bit of idealism in that, hey, this is one day going to work, this is one day going to work.
Yeah.
And it did. And I think that giving people what I wish I would have had was powerful for me.
That's a huge stake in the ground.
Yes.
Right? I think for anything, right?
Yeah.
Giving people what you wish you had. It's almost
Totally.
the golden rule, almost.
Oh, yeah.
If you just put that stake in the ground, that's a huge North Pole, whatever it is to follow.
Definitely, and spreading it around to creating what I think would have been the best product. That was the idea. It was like, how can I put out the best in this particular space for this particular group of people? We're not trying to reach everybody, but the people we are trying to reach, how can we just take the best and spread it around to everyone? And that was a really good, like you said, guiding compass. Kind of keeps you on this path that it was a powerful thing.
All right, so you fly out to Oklahoma City. I've told you a little bit about these guys that you're going to help out today. You know a little bit about their story, not a lot. You know where they are in their journey with auto detailing. You're going to do like a master class with them, right?
Yes.
The Luke Wilson master class.
Yes.
What's your hope? What do you hope that they take away today?
Yeah, I think this is what I get to do on a daily basis, with other guys, again, in the country and around the world. And so it was just such a perfect fit when you talked about where these guys are at, what they're trying to do. I don't know if I've ever been in a situation where it was this hand in a glove, just perfect fit. So that's amazing. But I think my hope for today, with where these guys are at starting out, is probably twofold. Number one, I would love for them to be able to walk away feeling super confident about the hands-on detailing process itself. So it's like, hey, no matter what car is in front of me or what type of client, when I get my hands on the car, I'm not worried about damaging anything. I'm not worried about not being able to do something or overdoing something. I'm confident about my own ability. And then secondly, I would love for them to walk away having a real step-by-step plan of, this is exactly how we're going to create a bunch of customers coming in over the next month, 2 months. And when that happens, they can kind of take their business where they want it to be. But those two kind of initial steps, I think we can get over those hurdles even in a short period of time, and it's going to be cool.
That's super cool. All right, well, thank you. I appreciate you. Thanks for your time. Thanks for coming. Thanks for sitting down and talking, and we'll go help these guys out.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Love it, man.